country from becoming a failed society. And you must not believe that societies cannot fail. They have in history been instances where whole civilizations have vanished. And in our times, we have seen situations where countries have had to endure periods of prolonged decay and decline from which they have found it almost impossible to extricate themselves. I remind you that on independence in 1966, Guyana was more developed than Singapore. I know after long years of prolonged decline, there's no comparison between the two. I remind you as well that Japan, even a powerful country, has recently failed because of a long period of decline and decay. A country also can become a failed society when they lose control over the vital things, the vital, meaningful things that ought to be making it stable and orderly. A country becomes a failed society when it falls behind, when it is left behind, and when it is in danger of going under. And tonight I've come to you to tell you that on present course, because of the policies of the Democratic Labour Party, our beloved Barbados is on course to becoming another failed society. One of those types that now strewn the developing world, because we are in danger of falling behind, we are in danger of being left behind, and we are in danger of going under. And the mission of this team is to stop Barbados from falling behind. It is to stop Barbados from being left behind, and it is to stop Barbados, our precious Barbados, from going under. And I commend this as the next government of this country with that powerful and overwhelming mandate to rescue this country from disaster that have overtaken so many. And I've come tonight to discuss this matter with you in simple terms. When I say that our country is falling behind, is being left behind, and is in danger of going under. When I tell you that our country is no longer doing the things, mastering the processes that are necessary to remain a stable and orderly democracy, what are the kind of things that I want you to focus on? First of all, we now have an economy that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it is now, in 2012, produced $300 million less than the economy we left behind. But that's not even the important thing. Now, our people now are saving less and less. The ordinary Barbadians cannot now prepare for the future. Barbadians now have to draw down their savings in order to make ends meet. And not only you, the citizens, our companies have had to draw down over $1 billion over the course of the last 5 years just to keep people employed. That cannot continue indefinitely for the future. More to the point, an aircraft, in order to fly, if it has 4 engines, have to have all 4 engines firing. It may be able to fly on 2. It may even be able to fly on 1. But it cannot fly if no engine is working. Our economy is now reaching the stage where none of its engines are working. The part of our economy that should be driving our growth and development and giving us the assurance that this country will not fail is tourism. And our tourism industry cannot help you if it can't help itself. Last year, it fell by 6%. Our tourism industry now is the worst performing industry in the Caribbean. It is at the bottom of the pile. And if tourism can't pull us out, if international business cannot pull us out, Barbados will be like an aircraft flying with all of its engines impaired. And that is not all. An economy is just a set of enterprises. And when I tell you that Barbados is failing, it is because the companies and enterprises of Barbados are failing. A country is in danger of collapsing when its biggest company, Almond Beach, employing 500 people, collapses. So that, colleagues, our mandate is to stop this madness. We have a duty to put Barbados back on a path to growth. And tonight, I am not into any abuse of anybody. I have come to talk to you about serious things because I knew what it was to take an economy in 1994 that had lost hope and put it back on a path of growth. And we have a mission of a similar nature before us when we become the government on February the 22nd, 2003. Now, a country fails as well when things that worked for us in the past are no longer there to help us, and the people in charge are not prepared to move to do the things that are required at this time. Barbados is failing because this government does not understand the changed environment within which our development is now taking place. I beg you to bear with me, because you all have to understand the challenges of the day. And they're not things that the ordinary person cannot understand if they're easily explained to them. And I've come tonight to do that. Now, there was a time, as you know, when we had a strong agricultural and manufacturing industries in this country. But those industries only existed because we were able to ban other people's goods. So Barbados used to produce televisions, not because we were good at producing televisions, but because we were allowed to ban televisions from coming to Barbados. If they could not come, then they had to be produced here. In 1994, when Barbados joined the World Trade Organization, we had to accept rules that you can no longer impose import bans on people's goods. So industries like manufacturing, agriculture, no longer can be vibrant in Barbados. You understand that? Then, there are many of you in this crowd tonight who are middle-class people, middle-class professionals. A lot of people do not understand how Barbados has made it. We have made it in part because we used to get a unique tax benefit from Canada. Canada entered an agreement for the exchange of information with Barbados that no other Caribbean country had. And because of that, Barbados became the country in the world that had the third largest concentration of Canadian investment. That arrangement worked this way. A Canadian company invests in Barbados, it pays taxes in Barbados at 1.5%, and it sends back its dividends to Canada without having to pay taxes in Canada. That is how that used to work. Barbados had that as the only country in the Caribbean that had it. But that was up until 2008. Canada has now given the same tax benefit to everybody else in the Caribbean. And therefore, you're hearing that Canadian companies are starting to leave Barbados. We have now, therefore, to find reasons other than tax breaks to get companies to establish here and to get companies to want to expand here. The conditions under which our development have taken place in the past have changed. And this government has sat idly while 20 Canadian companies have left. Another 12 were planning to leave, and another 12 were in the process of starting their planning. And in order for us to assure you that we are not going to fail in the future, we have now to start creating new conditions under which business in this country can be created. Things that we could not do in the past, we have to start doing now in order for Barbados to succeed. And mercifully, there's hope. Barbados is one of the few countries in the world that has not made enough use of information technology to create business. When you watch television, don't you hear people talking in terms of e-commerce, buying and selling by way of the internet? Barbados is a country that has not yet started to use e-commerce for trade. But also, and this will surprise you, every year, the World Bank does a survey of the conditions for doing business across all the countries in the world. Because as you know, the ease of doing business and the constraints on doing business affect the cost of doing business and determines whether people will set up businesses in your country or not. The country with the best conditions for doing business are Singapore. But hear the news, my friends. Nobody knows what are the conditions for doing business in this country because this government has not allowed the World Bank to do a survey of our conditions for doing business. And as a result, our private sector is overwhelmed by a mass of bureaucracy that, if removed, will enable us to speak in terms of an economy that can grow for the future. And I've told you that to stop this country from becoming a failed society, if and when I become Prime Minister of Barbados, I will set up in the Prime Minister's office something called a unit for business and investment facilitation that will have a responsibility to overseeing the removal of all of the bureaucratic and nonsensical constraints that we have put on ourselves that stop business from being established here. And I will ask the public service of Barbados and the private sector to let us agree on a program of best practices and accept no longer any second best in relation to how business is conducted in Barbados. Because if we don't have unique tax benefits or can't use import licenses, we have now to only to use the things that are left to us. And this is what we want to take over the government to do, to stop Barbados from failing for not doing the things that ought to be done. Countries fail when they are riven by tribal and partisan divisions that prevent significant parts of their society from participating in the development of their society. Is this not true? If you have a country where virtually half of the people are prevented from being able to participate in what is happening in the country, then that country will fail. And when I tell you, as I have said over and over again, that I believe in the politics of inclusion, and that I believe in an inclusive society, it is because that I know that if we do not give all Barbadians an opportunity to participate in the development of their country, this country will fail. And tonight I say, in the presence of my colleague candidates, Barbados does not belong to the Barbados Labour Party. We are not going to become a government, to win a government, to stop our brothers and sisters from using their talents to help us to develop this country. But it also does not belong to the Labour Party either. And we are saying things in this country that cause you to believe that the Democratic Labour Party believe that Barbados belongs to them. You're seeing how they're using the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. And I want to repeat something. I have told them, don't ask me to come for any 1 hour for any little foolish debate with Frondel Stewart. Come and feature these 29 wonderful Barbadians. Give them a fair chance on the public broadcasting television station of this country to present themselves and to become known to the people of Barbados in the same way that night after night your television is polluted with the image of a core collection of nincompoops from the Democratic Labour Party. We have seen in this country the disturbing trends that the Democratic Labour Party believes in the politics of the fatted calf and believe that Barbados is theirs to do what they want to do with it. Tonight, I want to repeat to you a statement that I made in Jamaica at a function organized by the University of the West Indies on the future of the Caribbean in the 21st century, because it reflects my philosophy. It reflects how I will set up to make sure your country is governed. And it said, it is published by George Lamin in his book called The Sovereignty of the Imagination. And he was gracious enough to call it a most extraordinary statement. And I'm not being immodest, it reflects truly how I feel a country must be governed. He says, I said then, to realize its full potential, the Caribbean needs to move to a new form of governance. No Caribbean society can succeed unless all of its resources are mobilized into support of national development. However, the unfortunate aspect of the Westminster model of governance we have inherited is that it has encouraged a to the victors the spoiled mentality. And that has ensured that at any time, almost half the population of any given Caribbean society is marginalized and alienated from participating in the development of the society. There has been too destructive a competition for political office, too heavy a concentration of power in the hands of ruling elites, and unhealthy preservation of anti-developmental party and tribal divisions, a focus on short-term partisan political concerns, and a patronage system which works against sound and progressive government. Well, tonight I say to you that in this country, we are now seeing a level of tribalism by the Democratic Labour Party and its cohorts. That if we do not rise up and fight against it, it is going to destroy this country. The Democratic Labour Party is carrying this madness about the politics of the fatted calf too far. And it is all wonderfully well set out in an email which I shall keep referring to, written by a DLP Senator Peter Childs, that reflects precisely what should not be happening in our country. And what we want to become the government to stop happening in Barbados, to stop Barbados from failing. He, Chris Sinclair, and apparently Richard Seeley brought Carib Cable, they feel, to Barbados. And Carib Cable, as a decent company, set out to try to employ Barbadians of all political persuasions, because that is how a responsible company should operate. And that's the kind of Barbados we want to live in. Because that company is coming here to sell to both D's and B's. And that we can't have a situation where Carib Cable can come to Barbados and be told that you, who are rain red, can purchase its service, but you can't work there. And this is what Peter Dilts wrote. And he wrote to the managing director in language that I can't always use, because some of it is not drawn from the language of the realm, which is English, but some of it is in language that my mother, who was a Christian lady, would not want me to use. He says, it is written to Oliver. He says, I have worked too effing hard. And he spelled it out. To get Carib Cable where it is, to see our opportunities for work for some of our people, not only in direct employment with Carib Cable, but those opportunities for work that our people should get in looking at. He says, I am particularly concerned that people put forward by Richard and his PA are being set aside by Mr. Whitehead, as he will not consider them. He said, and this is absolute crap. Once Richard Seeley send you, even if you're a square peg in your round hole, and the Barbados party supporter could do the work, you must not get the job. He said, Oliver, the mission here is to give work to those who help Kelly first and foremost. Without the help of those persons, there will be no Carib Cable, and by no extension, Oliver. Then he goes on in terms that I feel are racist, because you know in South Africa, they just call big black people boys. He says, you cannot let this boy, Whitehead, bring his politics to Barbados. And then he goes on to tell him, you need to take control, and make sure that the mission runs counter to Whitehead's mission, because he's not hiring any of Richard's people, and by extension, the people of the Democratic Labour Party. So we are now to live in a Barbados. We are a company that is to be established in Barbados, that is to get tax concessions that you can't get, is to be told by a DLP enforcer that you, as a Labour Party person, cannot work there. You got to be a dem. Is this the kind of country that you want to live in? And don't you understand when I tell you that a country cannot make it if half of the people are not allowed to participate in this development? It will fail. And that if this backward racist philosophy of Peter Dilts becomes the mantra by how we live, Barbados is going to go the same way as other countries. Countries also fail, and Barbados is in the process of failing. When there's stability, and we were a stable country, is undermined, and the rule of law is replaced by the rule of the jungle. And we are increasingly seeing a society that was once regarded as a model of stability, a society governed by the rule of law, a society where the collective responsibility of cabinet reigned, now become a society governed by a collection of wild boys with no respect for the rule of law, and taking Barbados into a new realm of instability and lawlessness. This Barbados is a good country with good people led by a bad government. Barbados is a good country with wonderful people led by a lawless government. And if we allow this country, good land, with wonderful people, to continue to be led by a lawless, wicked government, our country will fail. And what is the evidence? It is happening now. You cannot have a country that is stable and that is going to be successful unless there is a collective responsibility of cabinet. For 14 years, my cabinet met. We may have our differences in cabinet, but when once cabinet has made a decision, that decision holds. And you can't have an orderly and successful country if a group of wild boys decide that cabinet agreed on one thing, but they are going to do something else. And that is happening. Cabinet agrees at the Water Authority that a letter of comfort must be signed with Ansel McCall, but a Minister of Finance says he is not signing it. Can you imagine me being chairman of a cabinet and my cabinet agreeing to one thing, and a minister have the gumption to say that he's going to disobey my cabinet? I would humbug him. I would humbug him seriously. Then, we are now saying in this country as well, a country known for its stability and good order, being undermined by political interference in the police and political interference in the judiciary. We must not wink at these things. When we agree that a government can start fooling around with the police and fooling around with appointments in the judiciary, you undermine the rule of law and expose Barbados to situations where we can just become another one of those stereotyped lawless little countries that does not know what it is doing. And we want to become the government to stop these kind of things that are like a cancer destroying Barbados. We become a failed society when the cabinet itself takes over processes that the law says belong to somebody else. I don't have anything against Andrew Bino and his brother. And it might be a good thing if we could get a recycling industry in Barbados. But the law is the law. And it must be applied to Andrew Bino, his brother, and the cabinet of Barbados. The law says that you just can't go and set up a recycling industry anywhere you feel like. The law says that before you can even think of that, you have to make application to the town planning department and go through an environmental impact assessment before the thing can be done. There is no provision in our governance for a government to replace that provision of the law and take it, and for a cabinet without the people even applying to town planning, or without town planning even seeing an environmental impact, say go and set up a recycling facility in Bagatelle. That is wrong. And what are we coming to when the people of Bagatelle have to take money out of their pockets and apply to the courts to make the government do what the law say that the government must do? And if you wink at these things, don't you understand that a day, a morning will come when people will have to ask what happened to this country. We are on the way to failing. We are on the way to failing when you have ministers who believe that they don't have a responsibility in the law not to involve themselves in the running of state enterprises. There's a famous letter written to Frandel Stewart by a man called Wesley Chandler, where the man says, I am a faithful member of the Democratic Labour Party and have been so for years, but I can no longer, and you have appointed me on the board of the Sanitation Authority. And I got the letter here. Let me read it for you because this is the kind of things that one should know about. It was written on the 26th of January 2012. And this is what we want to stop happening in Barbados. It is written to the Honorable Frandel Stewart, Prime Minister. He said, I have been a member of the Democratic Labour Party since 1986. I wish to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the board of the Sanitation Authority. I do not want to continue to serve as a member of this board with the current minister. The minister chairs meetings on a regular basis. Here it passes. The board got a chairman, you know. But a minister in the DLP government chairs the meetings of the sanitation. Then it's low. He says the minister chairs meeting on a regular basis, and this should not be so. One matter which I would like to draw your attention has to do with the truck that the minister asked to be sent back to Autocraft Engineering to be fixed for a price of over $74,000 without having the 3 quotations as is usually required. A truck, just fix a truck for $74,000. He says the requirement was outlined by the minister by members of the sanitation management team as well as the new permanent secretary of the Ministry of Environment and Drainage. I am concerned about the behavior of the minister in insisting that the truck be fixed without obtaining the required quotations. This is a serious situation, especially when elections are around the corner. I am concerned about what it can do to the image of the party if it gets out. Well, it gets out now. Once again, thanks for the opportunity to serve, and I remain a loyal member of the DLP, willing to serve in any capacity offered to you. You know that Frandel received a letter. Heard that his minister was chairing boards. Heard that his minister was awarding contracts to just fix a truck for $74,000. That a man says, I am a loyal member of the DLP, but I'm prepared to resign because this is going too far. And that Frandel won't do a thing about it. And when I tell you that our country is going to fail if these things are allowed to happen, if you have to live in a country, and hear me very carefully because it can't happen under Barbados party government, where ministers feel that they can not only go and chair meetings of boards, because a minister should not be doing that, but not only chair meetings of boards, but awarding contracts to give away the taxpayers' money without things going out to tender. And obviously, giving away your money for no good purpose, because $74,000 to fix a truck is a lot of stealing there. These things destroy countries, and they must stop. And we are asking you for the opportunity to stop this country from going the way of so many countries that have failed because of these attitudes. Barbados also stands at the risk of failing Because our country is not just declining, our country is spiraling down and down and down. Now, when you're in an airplane and the airplane is descending calmly, you are not worried. But if you were in an airplane and you see it spiraling down and down and down, you will know that you have a problem. And that you will want to go and tell the pilot, if you don't know, that please do something to pull us out of this spiral downwards. And this is the difference between us and the Democratic Labour Party. We are saying that the country is not only declining, the country is spiraling downwards and downwards and downwards. And that something has to be done to pull the country out as a dramatic effort. And that is why we keep telling the Democratic Labour Party that 24% of this country depends upon exports. But 76% of our economy depends upon your local spending. And that once we have the foreign exchange, that we should allow money to be put in your pockets to help you to go and spend on local things that constitute 76% of this economy to stop the spiral downwards. Now, if Barbados was in a situation as it was in 1991, when we had run out of foreign exchange, then we would not necessarily be telling the DLP government or you and the people of Barbados that it could stimulate this economy by putting money back in people's pockets. In 1991, Barbados had minus $1 million of foreign exchange. You had run out. And minus one means that the amount of debt that had to be repaid exceeded the amount of foreign exchange in the central bank by $1 million. But we left $2.8 billion in foreign exchange. And the central bank is holding Barbados, the central bank is now holding $500 million more in foreign exchange than is needed by reason of standards of international safety. And you want to hear this? That if it recently increased its foreign exchange holdings by privatizing the shares of the BNB, bringing the foreign exchange and putting them into the reserves. We are saying that if you have $500 million more of foreign exchange than you need to stabilize the country, well then, put little money in people's pockets so that without evaporating the foreign exchange holdings of this country, we could get this economy going again, stop the spiral downwards, while you fix the export sectors like tourism and international business to have a total approach to redeveloping the country. And if you, and I want to deal with this matter clinically, the allowances that the Democratic Labour Party has taken away will cost the Treasury $24 million. That would generate $100 million in business in Barbados if it was given back to you. And it would affect the reserve by no more than $30 or $40 million. So if you have $500 million more in reserves than you need to hold, what is wrong with putting a little bit of money in people's pockets to generate, through the allowances only, $100 million in business right now to make things better for the people of Barbados? Well, your manifesto is on the way. And when the manifesto comes, I want you to go to a section called tax relief. Putting money in people's pockets. And you will hear what we commit ourselves to doing. And they can commit us to doing this Because I took this country as your prime minister in 1994. And I found people owning companies paying taxes at 40%. And by careful, judicious management, we reduced it from 40% to 25%. I found people paying 40% in taxes. I reduced the rate of taxes on people. I raised the level at which taxes are paid from $12,000 to $25,000 per year. We gave you something called a reverse tax credit, that even if you were not paying income tax, I said hold some of the VAT and keep it in your pocket and spend it too. We found a situation where in this country, everybody owning a house had to pay tax on the full value of the house. We said that has to change. Put some money in people's pocket by making the first $150,000 worth of your land tax free of tax and drop the rates. We did all that. And the country didn't collapse. I'm going to hear nonsense from the little world that tax relief would destroy Barbados. I say that the experience is to the contrary. That we were only able to build a successful economy by allowing you, the people, to help us to build it. And you help us to build it by your judicious use of the money that we allow you to keep. The government must not feel that raping your pockets to spend on foolishness like political football competitions and constituency councils and all that kind of nonsense is the way that Barbados must be governed. It is wrong. And the time has come for the government to understand the counterproductivity of its own policies. They increase your income taxes by taking away your allowances, and rather than the income tax stay of the government increasing, it has dropped by 10%. So if you increase the tax rate and you get less revenue, if you were a Minister of Finance, what would you do? You will know that your policy is failing, it is going in the wrong direction. The time to change it is upon you. The government increased the VAT. And rather than the VAT give you increased revenue, the VAT is now giving the government 2% revenue less at the 17% rate than it was given when it was 15%. So it must be telling you that if you take an economy that is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you tax it higher and higher and higher, you can get less revenues, and you can make things wrong for people. So, this is what our manifesto will say. Historically, tax incentives have been a powerful way to encourage enterprises and individuals to grow. Over the last 5 years, the DLP administration has discouraged growth and transformation with excessive taxation that virtually wrecked our economy and created a new class of poverty, the working poor. A comprehensive program of tax relief and incentives is now necessary to help restore economic growth, improve people's incomes and wealth, and open new opportunities for development and transformation. Growth cannot be restored to our economy in the absence of a program of domestic stimulation, which means improving the purchasing power of every Barbadian. We must put money in our people's pockets. Over the next 5-year period, a Barbados Labour Party government proposes a properly structured and phased program. You can't do it all at once, of tax relief and reform. We will, 1, restore the tax exemption on the entertainment and travel allowances. 2, we will increase the land tax exemption threshold from $150,000 to $200,000, which will remove 18,000 property owners from the payment of land tax. 3, all homeowners liable to land tax should pay on 50% of the improved value. This benefit is now available to pensioners. And let me explain why it has to be done. Carl Williams, one of the richest men in Barbados. Kevin Simpson, one of the richest men in Barbados. Because they are pensioners, do not pay land tax on the full value of their land. They pay on only 50%. And all we are saying that we must live in a country of fairness and that the same tax concession that is enjoyed by Carl Williams and Kevin Simpson must be enjoyed by you, the working people. And when you go home, compute what would be the benefit to you if you had to pay land tax, not on the full value over 150,000, but only half of that money in your pockets. We will increase, we're saying that we will introduce a middle income tax band. Because right now, the 33% applies at too low a level of income. That we will introduce a middle income tax band that applies a 25% marginal rate to taxable income between 35,000 and 50,000. Right now, you pay in that band at 33%. We will increase the reverse tax credit to $15,000 for persons earning $20,000 or less. You gotta help the poor. We will increase the personal income tax allowances for pensioners from $40,000 to $50,000. Under the existing tax system, individuals are provided with a basic allowance of $25,000, a home allowance for savings, and allowances to encourage them to invest. We believe we should add to this by providing allowances for people to better provide for the education of their children and for their health care. As your Minister of Finance, I introduced something called a registered education saving plan that you can save for your children's education. But I only allowed the interest on the saving plan to be free of withholding tax. That was a mistake I made. We propose to allow you a full amount, up to $10,000, that you put in a registered education saving plan so that you can start preparing to pay for your children's education, whether it's at UWA or wherever, not necessarily, because we don't intend to change that, but wherever you have to do it. I should now be, and I've started to save for my daughter's education by putting aside something so that my first daughter had to send it to a university in Texas because she was a table tennis player. I sent her to the best university in the world so that she could better represent Barbados in table tennis. And you have to give your children that opportunity in life. So we will give you a proper tax credit. But the time has come also for you to be able to get a tax credit to look after your health. Because health in Barbados is still largely private. And that we intend to give you a health care allowance that you can use for the care of the elderly. So if you got an old parent in a nursing home and it costing you enough money a month, write off that against your taxes, your medical or drug bills, and if you want to buy health insurance. Right now, you can't do it. And you may not want always to go to the QEH. You may want to go to a good clinic. But you don't have health insurance. So we say we can give you up to $10,000 a year that if you feel like buying some health insurance to look after yourself, go free. Go along. That is the kind of Barbados we want to live in. We will allow a regime. We want to create an economy for young people. And what do young people like to do? Professional sports. Earn foreign exchange with the country. Entertainment. Some of them get involved in selling their technological skills abroad. But we are telling them, that if they earn foreign exchange for Barbados by earning money from becoming professional sportsmen or from selling their entertainment services, and entertainers, hear me carefully, if you are going to earn foreign exchange for us by selling your services down the Caribbean or in the rest of the world, pay tax at 1.5%, the same rate as international business companies. Help this country to grow. And I also said that we have to help the young professionals. A young lawyer pays taxes at the same rate as his professional fees at the same rate as Henry Ford. But that can't be fair. You agree that can't be fair? So why not have a system where we allow not just lawyers, but all young professionals to have a graduated structure of fees that you pay your professional fees based upon years of experience. So that young people coming into the job market are not labored with professional fees that really should apply to Henry Ford and persons who have had 40 years of experience and are many, many, many times too rich for their own use and should help the treasury. What's wrong with these things? And don't you want a government that is going to put these things in place to help Barbadians to bring back Barbados by enabling you to be able to help the private economy expand? Now, colleagues, there are a number of important things that we're going to have to do on becoming government that I'm asking you to brace for. This government has prepared estimates. The estimates have to be approved by the end of March. When we become the government, we will inherit estimates that have been prepared. I say this election should be about our talking to the people about serious things. These estimates would have been prepared on the basis of a government's medium-term fiscal strategy that commits the DLP to cutting expenditure by $150 million over the course of the next 2 years. Now, the government is going through this campaign. They're talking about all kinds of other things. They're cursing everybody. But they, as ministers, would have just sat down with Chris Sinclair and prepared estimates that will have to go to Parliament, because if the election is called on the 21st of February, a Prime Minister is appointed on the 22nd. The Prime Minister then appoints the Cabinet. The Cabinet will then have to meet and will agree that Parliament will have to be summoned. That would then be sometime in March. Parliament will have to meet to become a parliament with a speaker. And then sometime afterwards, before the end of March, because the Constitution of Barbados says that the estimates have to be prepared and approved before the end of March. And if the estimates are not approved before the end of March, if you are a temporary employee, you can't get paid, the government cannot pay any of its bills. Now that is a constitutional crisis that Frundle has possibly created for us by the manner in which he has deferred the calling of this election. But the point I'm coming to is this. They are committed in their medium-term strategy to cut expenditures by $150 million over the course of the next 2 years. Now, there is no way that they should go through this campaign having prepared the estimates, knowing that in order for those estimates have really to be estimates that may have just to be looked at and passed through. without telling you where the cuts are going to come. Is that unfair? That is what we're going to have to face. The first thing. Second thing is that there are 35,000 people who are policyholders of CLICO, who this government has unfaired for 4 years. And the government has unfaired you for 4 years by telling you a lot of nonsense that what it will take to fix CLICO in Barbados is $837,000, and that no government B nor D got that. Now that's foolishness. CLICO liabilities may be $837,000. Million, sorry. But it has assets of over $440 million. So that when the liabilities are offset by assets, the amount that left to be found is 300 and odd. But that 300 and odd is not 300 and odd to be found to settle CLICO in Barbados. All that you need to settle CLICO in Barbados, because that refers to what CLICO owes in the Eastern Caribbean, not just in Barbados. The 330-something million net is Barbados and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. What has to be found to honor the commitment that prime ministers have given to give out people the money is $77 million in Barbados. And we have said, we called upon the DLP over and over again to let us have a CLICO day in the House of Assembly, for the House of Assembly of Barbados to do the people's business. We were sent there to govern, to take charge of the country's affairs. And they ran down the clock, they went past the clock. Frandel took his second term, he even took his third term, because the third term was between January the 15th and now. And he found time to do everything, but not to fix CLICO. But we will, on assuming office, as I have said, deal with this. And that it can be dealt with by giving people a combination of cash, a combination of investment instruments, and where necessary, tax relief. And I want to say this again, that we will fix CLICO in Barbados first, because home drums must beat first. Trinidad, fix CLICO in Trinidad first, and then look after the rest of the Caribbean. And when we fix things and put things right with you, we can then talk to the rest of the Caribbean, because I'm not going to tell the taxpayers of Barbados that fixing all the CLICO's problems must fall on your pockets. We are also going to make sure that those who brought CLICO to this disastrous situation, that they got to be pursued, and that the assets got to be, their assets got to be part of the solutions. We cannot make you, the taxpayers, pay for the worthlessness of Leroy Paris and others. And the reason why the DLP won't fix this is that they know that if you have to find a solution to CLICO, that you will also have to deal with their pal. And we shall deal with it. Public servants, you have spent 4 years of hardship in this country. Every time the Democratic Labour Party hold office in this country, public servants suck salt. I would be ashamed to lead a government and tell people, hold strain for 4 years. Your income's frozen. While prices are rising by 30%. So we got to find a way to help you out. And as soon as practicable, there has to be a way of settlement. Helping the people at the bottom more, because the tax measures that I have spoken of will help people in the middle class as well. We can't have a situation at University of the West Indies where the government has to give the University of the West Indies $150 million, but only give them 75. We got to fix those things on becoming the government. And if these things are not fixed, Barbados will fall behind, will be left behind, and Barbados will continue to go under. Now, it can take some leadership. And I really, really, really must tell you that a large part of our problems today are not because of international circumstances, but because Barbados has not been properly governed. Leaders exist to make decisions. And Frontal Stewart really has plumbed a new depth in the inertia that he has exhibited where he wants action from him. Do you remember the little poem? It went this way. There was a very cautious man who never romped nor played. He never smoked, he never drank, nor even kissed a maid. And when he passed away, they said, insurance was denied, for since he never lived, they said he never died. That can apply to Frontal Stewart. The man is just sitting there doing nothing. And they make an issue out of this because this is how you govern a country. You give a government a mandate to govern based on what it tells you is its manifesto. It must make decisions that stand the test of reasonableness. And then it must come back to you, and you judge whether it should be a government or not on the strength of the decisions that it makes. One of the toughest decisions that I had to make as the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance was to introduce a value-added tax in Barbados a year before an election. And the analysts were telling me, no government in the world has ever introduced a value-added tax a year before the election and it won. And what did I tell you all? Let me introduce it. Let me allow the results to work for me. And I will introduce it. I will examine it after 9 months. And if it needs fixing, I shall fix it. I did tell you, great causes cannot be won by doubtful men. And our problem in Barbados is, as I said, we have a great society, a great people, led by a doubtful man. And I am asking you for the opportunity to change that. I am giving you a pledge that I just want to make this country be governed better. Barbados has opportunities waiting to be grasped if we are prepared to open up our imagination to do new things in new ways and old things in new ways. I want to be able to test you, the people, to rise up in your own self-defense, but also to rise up and helping us to carry forward this country. I want to do this in your name, but in the name of that young lady who I brought with me tonight on this platform, a daughter that I have at secondary school, and the next one who is about to make me a grandfather. I want you and your children to live in a better country than the country that we have known historically. So tonight I've come to tell you from the words of Isaiah 43. Fear not, when you passes through the waters, I will be with thee. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring the seed from the east and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and the south. Keep not back. Bring your sons from afar and your daughters from the ends of the world. Good night, and God bless each and every one of you.
We invite the candidates to join the political leader on stage.
Barbados is in crisis. We cannot let it go.
We have to come together to see Barbados grow. Our people crying daily. Our people feel the pain. We have to work to make it shine again. Tomorrow, a better tomorrow. We'll end the pain and sorrow with a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will make a better tomorrow. For 5 years we have suffered. We felt that hope was gone.
The pain and strain and hunger, yet life must still go on.
We dwell not on the failure. We throw them to the wind.
We pledge to let the healing now begin.
Tomorrow, a better tomorrow.
We'll end the pain and sorrow
With a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will make a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, a better tomorrow.
We'll end the pain and sorrow
With a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, we promise you a better tomorrow. A better tomorrow. We'll end the pain and sorrow with a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will make a better tomorrow. A better tomorrow. We'll end the pain and sorrow with a better tomorrow. Tomorrow, the bees will make a better. The bees will make a better. The bees will make a better tomorrow.
We have, ladies and gentlemen, the noted producer, King Bubba, of We Want Drinks, who will come and perform with us. But we also have with him a man whom only hours ago was in Trinidad enjoying carnival, but felt it important to be here with King Bubba. Ladies and gentlemen, join us in welcoming Little Rick.
Louder!
We do not want them.
What?
Not them again.
Tell me what you want.
Barbados,
Yeah.
stand up.
Tell me what you want.
We want
BLP.
government.
Tell me what you want.
Somebody put your hands in the air right now. Hands up.
What you
Hands
want.
up. Hands up. Hands up.
Tell me what you want.
BLP.
BLP. BLP. Tell them, Lowrick, tell them.
These times we get me want BLP. Let me do. Hold on. How you feeling?
Anybody out there voting BLP, make some noise! Run it!
We do not
Run
want
it!
them. Not them again.
Tell me
what you want. Barbados, stand up.
Barbados!
Tell me what you want.
We
Put
want
something
new
run up in the air right now.
Tell me what you want.
Any
BLP. Tell me what you want. BLP. Tell me what you want.
Louder! There we go!
Louder.
We don't need them, we want BL. Yeah!
Pull up.
Let me see when I rev them. Rev them.
Get him it.
We do not want them. Not them again.
Stop it.
what you want. Barbados,
them
stand
again.
up.
Tell me what you want.
We want new government. Tell me what you want.
Louder!
BLP.
Tell me what you want!
BLP.
I can't hear you! I can't hear you! I can't hear you!
Louder.
Louder!
BLP.
Louder! We don't need them, we want BLP. Them ain't doing nothing for me. We want more jobs and opportunity.
Them ain't
Everybody
doing
want
nothing.
BLP. We want BLP. Cause we want a change. We want new government. Tell me what's the name?
BLP.
Everybody vote BLP. Vote them out.
Stop it.
Hold on.
We want it.
I want to talk to
Acapella.
the people a little. I want to talk to the people a little.
Acapella.
I look on the internet.
Talk to them.
I look on the internet. And I say, Lil Rick sell out. The Cecil.
The Cecil.
But this is not a sellout. This is a speak out.
You know why, Lil Rick? You know why?
This is a speak out. And furthermore, it's a vote out.
Vote out. Vote out.
Yeah.
Get him in acapella.
Cause here what's going on. Ladies, if you got a man and he ain't walking, what you gonna do with him? What you gonna do?
Vote he out.
Cheese on, and we don't want the women get rid of the men cause I got enough men, but yeah, that ain't got no work.
None.
So we want men get work, so the women want to run them away. Huh? So all the women that want the men that work, put your hands up in the air.
Ladies, tell me what you want.
BL.
What?
Tell me what you want.
What?
Tell me what you want.
Louder.
Tell me what you want. Well, peace now, look. We done with them, we want BLP.
What?
Them ain't doing nothing for me. We
What?
want more jobs and opportunity.
What?
Them ain't doing nothing for me. We want BLP, cause we need a change. People want new government. Tell me what's the name?
BL.
Everybody vote BLP, vote BLP.
BLP.
Yeah!
All right.
Oh gosh.
How you feeling tonight? We voted red. Run it. Run it. Run it.
Anybody
We
that
do
vote
not
on
want
red,
them.
put it
Not
up in the air
them
and
again.
represent right now.
Tell me what you want. Barbados, stand up. Tell me what you want. We want
We
new
need the
government.
change.
Tell me what you want.
Louder.
BLP.
Yeah!
BLP. What?
BLP!
Louder.
Louder!
Watch it.
We don't need them, we want BLP. Let's build up this economy. Them ain't doing nothing for me. We want jobs and opportunity. We want BLP. Cause we want the change.
Thank you.
Hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up, hands up.
We do not want them. Not them again.
Pull up.
Tell me what you want. Barbados, stand up. Tell me what you want. We want new government. Tell me what you want.
Louder.
What you want. We do not want. We do not want. We do not want them. Not them again. We do not want
Where
them.
DJ?
Not them again. We do not want them. Not them again. We do not want them. Not them again. Tell me what you want. Barbados, stand up. Tell me what you want. We want new government. Tell me what you want.
Let it go. Take it down.
Barbados, let's party. Barbados, stand up. Barbados, stand up.
Mr. Bobby here now. Next election, I'm ready for my constituency. Anybody that back in Hyperdog, make some noise right now.
Tell me what you want. What?
Tell me what you want.
BLP.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Tell me what you want.
BLP.
Louder.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Why?
thank you so very much for being a part of this evening's presentation. We urge you now to go home safely to your homes and ponder on what you have heard from Owen Arthur as he delivered the beginnings of the plan for a better tomorrow. We want to invite you to our meetings tomorrow evening in Hearts Gap, Christchurch, Speightstown, St. Peter, and Bush Hall, St. Michael. Come out and hear more of what the Barbados Labour Party as a connected team intends to do for a better Barbados. God bless you and get home safely.
We do not want them. Not them again.
Tell me what you want.
Barbados, stand up.
Tell me what you want.
We want new government.
Tell me what you want. What you want. Tell me what you want.
Barbados Labour Party. Barbados, stand up. Barbados, stand up. Bring the change. Barbados Labour Party.
Tell me what you want.
BLP.
Tell me what you want.
BLP.
Tell me what you want.
BLP. New government. We done with them, we want BLP. Let's rebuild this economy. More jobs and opportunity. Them ain't doing nothing for me. They want BLP, cause we need a change. People want new government. Tell me what's the name? BLP. Everybody come follow me. We want BLP. BLP. This is the right thing for me. What do we need? BLP. We done with them, we want BLP.